Okay, in the previous video we have discussed about how you can create a ER diagram by using symbols. So for rectangle you will see entities and ellipses you can see properties, and by the diamond shape you will indicate the relationship between two entities, and cardinal ratios will indicate how much instances of each entity will interact with other entity. Now today we will going to discuss about how you can first arrange or convert ER diagram to relational DBMS, or how to convert an entity to a table. As I told you, in ordinary manual system they had used books. So in the books they had used tables. So this is the logical representation in the ER diagram, the logical representation of a student entity with its properties. When we convert it to a table, the table name will be student and table properties. So the student ID is the one we use to identify separately each instance of a student. We call it as a primary key. So table will be begin with the primary key, and we will put name, age and address as indicated in here as the properties of the student. Now we will see how you can indicate the subject entity. You have subject code as a primary key and subject name. So subject code is the primary key. The first column will be the primary key column that will separately identify each row or each instant in here of the entity of subject. Then the subject name. We will discuss why we the purpose of use subject marks later. Okay, for now please consider these two columns are there: subject code and the subject name. Then the teacher entity. Okay, so you will have in the school teacher registration book, it has the employee ID, name and other details, also address. You can include address, city, other entities, other properties of the teacher. For here I had used the basic two properties. One is employee ID and the name, as we mentioned in the previous ER diagram. So we have to use the primary key or separately identify each teacher by using the employee ID card or employee ID and the name. Then in here I will use the subject mark book, subject marks. There's a separate book for subject marks. So you will have subject mark ID and the marks. Okay. So previously we had subject code and subject name. Here subject has subject marks. If we consider one subject, it has many marks for each mark for each student. Okay, but if we take a certain mark in the subject, it is related to only one subject. So you have the mark ID and the marks for subject marks. Now for the report card, you have the student ID and the class. So student ID, class, we have like this. Now we will consider the relationship between the subject and the subject marks. Okay, so subject code will have in the subject table and the subject name. Okay, subject code is the one that separately identify each subject. Okay. Now, as the previous one, you have if we take this subject AGF001, if it is a subject code. Okay, you have the subject code here many times because there are many marks. But if we consider one subject code AGF, that only appear once in here. So AGF001 means history. Okay. Likewise, uh, you can put any coding. Okay, here that is a sample code. You have to identify there is some one table here. We call it as actually the secondary table, which has multiple instances of this is the primary table one, because this AGF only appear once in the subject code table but multiple times in the subject marks table according to the subject and according to the student. We will consider that relationship later. Okay, I wanted to identify how you can see one-to-many relationship, how you can implement one-to-many relationship in the table structure. We call this indicating something in the table as relational database management system. Okay. So if there is one instance and many instance, how you can denote. So in one side you will only have one occurrences, and because of multiple student you have multiple marks for one subject. So you will have multiple subject mark IDs for same subject code. Here you can repeat the same subject code again and again this in here. So that's why it indicated as same. So this is how you can implement one-to-many relationship in the table relationship way. Okay. Now we will see how you can implement many-to-many relationship. For example, if we take one student, if we, if we take one student, that one student have many subjects, and if there are one subject, also one subject has many students. So in that relationship we will be indicate one many to many relationship. Now if we take, if you wanted to form the relationship, you have to add. In the previous one we had add the same column in here in the other subject marks. We call this as foreign key. So we will see whether we can do the same thing with many to many relationship. Okay, we had formed the same subject code here, so you can identify who are the student has done AGF 001. Okay, so in here the subject mark ID 1 is related to the history because we will map 1 here and the subject code AGF 001 here, and from the AGF 001 it subject name is history. Now if we go to do the same thing, one way is you can put the student ID in this table. Okay, you can put this in here, subject name. Other way is you can put the subject code in here. Okay, now what we had done in here is we had put the subject code. We have the subject code here and we had put the subject code to here. Now if I ask the question, who done the history? Who is doing the history? Answer will be Kamal because we can map here who is done the history. So you will be start from here. So what is the code of the history? AGF1. Now we will go to here and search for AGF1. So you will have AGF1 here and you can take the name Kamal. So you can map. But when we see the relationship, because of this is a many-to-many relationship, now this is the primary key. Okay, but you can't include this ST1 again here because primary key a certain value can be occur only one time. Okay, now you can't put here AGF 002 and the same details. If you put the same details ST 001, you have to type again, but you can't do that because this is a primary key. Only certain value can be occur only once. So you do not able to can't put this column to here. You can't. Okay. Now we will see we can do the other way. That means we will first this one. Whether we can include this column to there. Now we will see whether this will work. Okay. Now what we had done, we had put the student ID here from this table. Okay. Now this is the primary key. Now if I ask you who will done the history, you can go to here and here AGF 001. Sorry. In here ST 001 and we will Go here and search here Hudong ST001 for this student and Kamal doing the history. But there is a problem in here also in this table. Okay, this ST001, can you put it again for the Sinhala? You can put. Okay, but can Sunil do the history also? This Sunil, can he do this history and Sinhala? Now if we try to put Sunil to here, we have to use ST002 again history. This one here. And if you try to do this one, put this one here. AGF001. This is not possible because this is a primary key field. It can only include this only one time. AGF001 can only occur one time in the subject code. If you try to put AGF001 again, you can't do it. Okay, so if you try to put this student ID field in this table, that also not work because of these anomalies. Okay, now we had tried either ways to put this ID to here. Did not work, and put this ID to here as foreign key. It also did not work. Now you will see how you can do it. What we have to do is we have to take a third table. Okay, this is the relationship table. Third table. You have the student subject ID here. Then you can put the student ID as a foreign key from here to here. And subject code also as a foreign key to this table to here. Okay. Also you can include the subject marks which comes by the interaction of them. So in here SS1. So ST1 means Kamal doing history. AGF1 means history. Okay. Then this is same Kamal ST1. Okay. Sorry here. ST1. Kamal is doing Sinhala. AGF2 is the Sinhala. Okay. Also have the marks. And ST2, this is Sunil. Now Sunil is doing history. So Kamal and the Sunil both can do history. So in here both can do history. Kamal and Sunil both can do history. Also, if we take the same student, Kamal can do two subjects. Kamal can do history and signal both. So likewise in here we can make this as duplicate and make here as duplicate as well. Okay, so that is how you can implement many to many relationship. Okay, now we had learned how you can implement one to many relationship and many to many relationship. Okay, so in the next lesson we will be see how you can implement these in MS Access. Okay, and see you in the next lesson how you can implement these tables, relational database management tables in MS Access. Okay, see you then.